Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen, welcome back to Sunday morning in the old cookbook show. Today we're going to do something out of The Silent Hostess, a treasure book put out by General Electric in 1932 to promote their electric refrigerator. And this is a fantastic slice of mid-Depression United States. It really shows the difference between the haves and the have-nots in that time period. So today I'm going to make something called the Dutch apple cake, and it is a variation of the recipe preceding it called cottage pudding. And so I'm going to start out in the stand mixer. Yes, the stand mixer. And I am going to cream this butter. And yes, a stand mixer, because in 1932 this stand mixer had been on the market for quite a while at that point. And even though people look at this and think it's an expensive consumer product, and it was, KitchenAid sold out production, completely sold out production every year during the Depression. If they could make more, they could have sold more, but they couldn't make any more than they were already making. And the exact same thing happened with these GE refrigerators. Now, 1932, this GE refrigerator cost around $187 US at that point, which adjusted for inflation is about $3,500 in 2020 money. So certainly not an inexpensive item for that refrigerator. And yet again, GE couldn't keep them in stock. They sold every one that they could produce. And I think that's a very interesting thing, because when I read through the comments section, when I do these Depression era recipes, people have the impression that in the Great Depression, the economy completely collapsed and everybody was broke and nobody had a job and there was food shortages and everything was a shortage. And while it was certainly bad for some people, there were just as many people who had it really good and they could afford to buy these consumer products. So the butter and the sugar has creamed together. I'm going to add 2 eggs into the mix. And I'll mix in the second egg. And in this bowl over here, I had flour and I mixed it with salt and baking powder. And I just mixed it together, just so it's all mixed together really nicely. So I think the point of my story here today is that for every family horror story about how horrible the Great Depression was, there's another family whose story is kind of like, didn't really notice anything. Yeah, we maybe lost money on paper, but day to day, nothing changed. And I think that's kind of what we're living through right now with the COVID pandemic. There are a lot of people who have lost their jobs and they are scrambling to make ends meet. And there are other people that it just hasn't affected. And I think we need to be conscious of that. And if you know somebody that needs some help, please give them a hand. And if you are somebody who needs help, reach out and get it. Okay, all of that's creamed together really nicely. So now we alternate between flour and milk. So a couple scoops of flour and drizzle in some milk and just keep going back and forth. Okay, let's get this into a pan. I have an 8x8 cake pan buttered with a parchment sling, and in goes the cake batter. Now at this point it tells me that I could smooth out the top and bake this and call it a cottage pudding and put like a lemon sauce on top, which sounds quite nice, but I'm going to make the Dutch apple cake. So I've sliced up an apple and we're going to dot those apples on top. Okay, sliced up apples, doesn't say how to place them. You could try to do it artfully, or you could just get them onto the top of the cake. I'm pretty happy just getting them onto the top of the cake. Next on, it says to sprinkle with some sugar. Sprinkle on some cinnamon. And then dot with little pieces of butter. Doesn't say how many. And now I bake this in a moderate oven for 40 to 45 minutes. Now you're probably asking why such a simple cake recipe is in a refrigerator cookbook. The whole idea is that you're supposed to take the cake after you've made it, stick it in the fridge until you're ready to bake it later that day. This was being touted as a time-saving measure, really. Just a way to spread out your day so that you're not scrambling around supper time to get dinner on the table.
Hey, Glenn.
Hey, Jules.
Hey, friends. That looks like that might need a fork.
Might need a fork. Let's see.
Got a couple. That's a great picture.
1932. Full color plates.
GE.
Yeah.
Why? What's with GE doing a cookbook? That's not a. Usually, it's a community cookbook. That's not a community cookbook.
It's
you've already tried.
the time-saving new device of the refrigerator.
Ah, how lovely.
Yes. So these are all recipes that somehow use the refrigerator. The idea with this cake is that you could mix it up after breakfast when you've got a moment. Stick it in the fridge all day, and then
make it later.
and then cook it later. And then
Did you do that?
No.
Okay,
I
I'm just
didn't-
wondering because I would have thought that I don't know that. Anyway, it's a good cake though.
It is a good cake.
I'm in. I would. Did you? Is there cinnamon in it or just on the top? I might have tossed cinnamon in it. In hindsight,
Definitely could. This is one of those cakes that is, I mean, it's plain, but it's meant.
it's a basic white cake.
It's meant to be that thing that you eat after supper. It doesn't have to be extravagant. It doesn't. It just ends
it
the
with tea.
meal. Yeah.
What a surprise! We're gonna have it with tea.
Yeah. It just ends the meal, and it gives you a smile on your face.
It is, but it's also super fun because the base recipe. Don't have apples. Throw in some pears. Toss in a few raspberries. You could adjust it.
Cherries.
You can do whatever flavors you want according to the
Yeah.
liquid content of your
Yeah.
fruit.
Yeah.
It is the base of great cake. So do with it as you choose. Make it your own, as the phrase goes.
Yep. Thanks for stopping by. Stay safe. See you again soon.